You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and this evening will be a pre-recorded show that I did regarding the subject of Bitcoin, and specifically how to benefit from Bitcoin using the Gladiacoin format. And before we begin, let me just say I am not licensed or in any way qualified to give you or anyone else financial advice. And neither are the two guests that I'm going to have on this broadcast. So with that disclaimer in mind, do your own research. Find somebody who is a qualified professional, get their advice, or just look into it for yourself. But basically, this is just a couple of guys talking and sharing some information for you to consider. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's said up front, that nobody's qualified to give you financial advice. And as my dad always said, look, when it comes to investment, never invest more than you're willing to lose. And, anytime you're doing something along the lines of investment, it's a gamble in one way or another. So keep that in mind as you listen. And now we'll go ahead and get into the pre-recorded interview that I did with Sergeant Jim Ram. My guest this evening is going to be Sergeant Jim Ram. He's a retired police officer, a former U.S. Marine, and host of Your DIY Health, which airs on TFR every Thursday morning from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. Pacific or 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern. Jim has built a successful longevity business with distributors and customers in all 50 states and multiple countries. He's always looking for opportunities for his listeners to earn the funds necessary to purchase the nutritional supplements they need to restore their health. He recently discovered the Gladiacoin program and jumped in with both feet. In less than 10 weeks, he's been able to earn more in Bitcoin than many Americans make in a year. He's here with us this evening to explain how you can do the same. And just before we get started, I got to explain how I came into contact with Jim. A mutual friend of ours, who is a longtime listener of my show, contacted me a while back. And he said, listen, man, you've really blessed me. Your ministry's really blessed me tremendously, and I want to return the favor. I want to support your ministry. I want to help you with seed. I got this idea, and look, you don't have to do anything. Just let me take care of everything. I'm going to set this account thing up for you on this website, gladiacoin.com. And all you need to do, Rob, is just set up a virtual wallet so that we could put the funds in it. And I'm going, I don't know, whatever you just said, I have no clue what you're talking about. You're going to have to take it slow, start over. He starts talking about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all kinds of stuff. I'm going, all right, dude, sounds like you know what you're doing. That's cool. I've got nothing to lose in this deal. So go for it. So he set up my account, and all of a sudden funds start coming in, and I'm going, wow, this is pretty cool. And he says, yeah, you need to talk to my friend, Sergeant Jim Ram. So that's sort of the background on how I came into contact with Jim. We've only had some brief conversations on the telephone. So I'm excited to really dive in and get to know him better and get to understand cryptocurrency and all that stuff a lot better on this evening's broadcast. So with that said, Jim, are you there, sir?
I am here. Hopefully things are working finally. How's that sounding?
Yes, you sound good. Everything appears to be working. So,
well, praise the Lord.
Yeah, right on. Well, look, I read your bio there, but let's just talk about cryptocurrency in general.
Okay.
And specifically Bitcoin, but I know that there are others. What's it, Ethereum or something like that?
Yeah, Ethereum and Litecoin and Dash. There's over 500 different cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin was the first, and it came as a result of a white paper that was published by, and we don't know if it's a single person or a group of people using a pseudonym, but somebody by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto published this white paper in 2008 that basically talked about a peer-to-peer currency, for lack of a better term, that would basically allow for instantaneous transactions from person to person anywhere in the world without the use of intermediaries, aka banks. And you could literally send money. And again, this is First Amendment radio. When I say money or when I say investment, I am talking pure usage, common usage, words that you find in the 1828 Webster's Dictionary. I am not talking legal terms. So all you people out there with the SEC and whoever else, go pound sand. But I'm talking just general terminology. When I say investment, I'm talking I put one thing in and I got a bunch more out. So basically what we're doing here is they have set up a system that uses a series of ones and zeros in a computer network that allows people to send value from point A to point B anywhere in the world, literally in seconds. You don't have to ask permission from any country. You don't have to use a bank to do it. You don't have to use Western Union or Wells Fargo or MoneyGram or any of those people who rip us off left and right. And it's done in seconds at very low to no to very low cost. And that's the beauty of it. And the thing is what people have to think about is where money comes from in general. And that's something most people don't think of. We think, okay, well, I want to be able to hold it in my hand. Yeah, that's, when you're talking about gold and silver and platinum, I agree. I'm one of those people who believes not to have all your eggs in one basket. I hold precious metals. I don't hold paper precious metals. I hold the real thing. But when it comes to this kind of thing, this is something that allows you to do transactions from person to person anywhere in the world. That's very difficult to do with gold and silver. Just trying to get it out of the country is a problem. But because of the internet, it makes it much simpler to do these things. And the other problem you run into is banks. They have a dismal record. Number one, the old story of possession is 9/10 of the law. When you put your money in a bank, guess who has possession?
Yeah.
They own it. And literally, there are laws that say when you put it in a bank, they own it. And if you're lucky, they'll give it back to you sometime, maybe. Where with Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency in general, it's 10/10 of the law. Nobody has access to it but you. When you have Bitcoin, it's yours and no one can touch it but you. That's another thing that's really cool. And basically, that's the whole idea behind cryptocurrency in general, is it's an electronic currency that you can move from point A to point B without intermediaries very quickly and at low cost. And the other thing that's really cool about this is they developed it to kind of mimic precious metals. Metals are precious because there's a limited supply. The thing is we don't know how much gold is left in the earth. They just found some major deposits in China. There's some in the Middle East, and they're all over the place, and they're being discovered on a regular basis. Where with Bitcoin, there's a finite number. Originally, there was 22 million planned, and I guess right now, for some reason, they're down to 21 million. Will be all there ever are. Right now, as I understand it, there's about 16 million in circulation. The last ones will not be mined, which is the term they use for it, until 2040, if I remember right. So basically, we've got another, 23 years before the last Bitcoins come out. So the more and more people get involved in these things, it's the old supply and demand. The more people are involved, the higher the value goes. It drives the price up. Right now, they're projecting between now and the end of the year, Bitcoin will go from where we're at right now, which is $1,300 as of today, to between $2,000 and $4,000 a piece. By 2025, they're projecting anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million per coin. And we put value on these things, just like any form of currency, any form of money or mode of value transfer. It's the faith that's put in it by the people that use it. And just like in the beginning of this country, I mean, we bought Manhattan for what, $20 worth of beads, because there was a group that liked beads. And paper right now, people are, we want this cotton that's made up of cotton, green ink, and cocaine. And that's one of the things, it has value only because we put value on it.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin are the same way, and you have to realize that. But because of that, and people are using them as a currency now. I mean, there's thousands of companies right now that you can make purchases from directly in Bitcoin. Home Depot, Starbucks, Whole Foods, places like that. To this day, right now, you can go in with your cell phone and purchase in Bitcoin without even converting to dollars. So
that's amazing to me. That when I first heard about it, I understood the general concept behind it, but I was like, who's gonna take this, in exchange for a product? And I was actually quite shocked to see the number of companies and businesses and services that you can use Bitcoin with. And
Visa, MasterCard. I mean, there's all kinds of major corporations that are investing in Bitcoin because they can see what's going on with it. And the first transaction that anybody is aware of, somebody way back when, like 2009 or 10, bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Today, that would be $10 million.
Wow.
Or more. Those are some expensive pizzas.
Yeah.
But, that's how things, when it first came out, it was, fraction of a penny. And now it's up to $1,300. And the trend is constantly a steady uphill climb. Now it has volatility where it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's how our system that we're going to talk about makes money, because it's done on high-speed trading and arbitrage, which is buying low and selling high. And but Bitcoin in general is just an awesome thing. And the funny thing is when I first heard about it, I'm, the same thing that most people think, nerd money. That'll never work. And there's a guy out there by the name of Andreas Antonopoulos, and he's all over YouTube, and he is literally the guru of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in general. I've got tons and tons of his stuff on my website that people can go to and look at in one spot and get a good idea of what's going on with Bitcoin. And he does it in very plain terms, and he is just amazing. The guy, when he first heard about it, he thought the same thing, nerd money. It'll never go anywhere. But a few years later, he actually got a hold of the white paper that was the basis for Bitcoin. And I'm holding a copy of it in my hands here right now. It's 9 pages long. And I'll tell you, there is some real technical stuff in here. I haven't had a chance to actually read it. I've just glanced through it, and there's some major math in here that I don't understand any of it. But the thing is he looked at that, and he was a computer engineer or software engineer by trade. And when he figured out what was going on with it, he immediately got interested and said he spent 4 months doing nothing but looking into this and researching it. And it just amazed him as to the capabilities of this system that somebody had dreamt up and was basically trying to put out there for people to consider. And the funny thing is everybody who is pro Bitcoin, proponents of Bitcoin today, started out as a naysayer. When I first heard about it, I'm thinking, nah, there's no way that thing's going to work. And I didn't look at it any further. I wish I had, because now, I could have got in for pennies on the dollar instead of $1,000 when I first started. And really would have been good. But the thing is I missed the first chance. I'm not missing the second one. And because I don't know, the third one, only millionaires are going to be able to get involved. It's going to get to the point where, a whole Bitcoin will be unreachable by the average person. So, that's what Bitcoin is in general. And the thing is it trades on a thing known as the blockchain. And it's a network, basically. But the thing is set up so that it's literally unhackable. And this is one of the things I learned from a recording of Andreas's that I was listening to yesterday. While individual blockchain accounts, Bitcoin wallets can be hacked, the blockchain itself, the network that the Bitcoin trades on, cannot be. People have tried since its inception and have never succeeded. And that's the beauty of it. It's open source. So you can literally see, if you know where to look, you can see every single transaction that takes place on the blockchain. The thing is it's all in alphanumeric code. You have no way of knowing who is sending the Bitcoin and who is receiving it. but you can see every single transaction start to finish. And they are unhackable because of the way the system is designed. When you send Bitcoin, it's going to go to the address you sent it to. The problem is you have to make sure that you are 100% accurate with the addresses, because if you put the wrong thing in, it's going to be gone and you ain't getting it back. So there's some good things and some bad things involved, and it just it requires some practice and concentration when you're first learning how this stuff works. But the whole idea is to be able, and this is the best thing, is from the Patriot standpoint, we're bypassing the banks. We're restoring some banking and financial privacy and anonymity, because nobody knows who has Bitcoin. Nobody knows who has how much. Nobody knows what you're doing with it. And, some would say, well, that's a recipe for bad guys to get involved and do stuff. And Antonopoulos has looked at that as well. And he says, that's the same thing with cash, which is why they're trying to get rid of cash. The people running the show, so to speak, want to control every single financial transaction on the face of the earth. And when they have everything done by computer in their network, they can do that. And that's what they're pushing towards, is a cashless society where there will be no cash. You will use their system, their plastic, their digits, their chips, or you won't buy and trade and sell. Kind of a Revelations kind of thing.
So how do we know that cryptocurrency isn't their system?
Well, there's a new one coming out that is their system. It's called FedCoin. Imagine that. And that's the government's, attempt to try and sucker people that don't know any better to get into what they think is a cryptocurrency, but it's actually something, it's just a digital transfer mode that's set up by the government, for the government, and managed by the government. And the same thing will happen is if you have those and they don't like what you're doing or saying, they can make all your ones and zeros go away and turn them all into just zeros. You know what that means. So that's the thing. With Bitcoin, you cannot do that. And there are multiple other currencies out there now that are even more secure than Bitcoin and more private. So if someone wanted to do really nefarious things, Bitcoin's not really the one they would want to use. There's others that are far more anonymous. But with Bitcoin, it's not just, if I'm taking the words of people that I have no reason to doubt, and that's people like Antonopoulos and other folks who are in the Patriot community and into these kind of things where they're programmers and whatnot. You can look at the code and you can see what's going on. And the federal government has nothing to do with it. And if they did, you would think they wouldn't be worried about, trying to regulate it, because they'd already have it regulated. And that's the thing. Regulation is no good, because every time the government gets involved in regulating something, it turns to crap, for lack of a better term. I mean, look at the number of, like, Target getting hacked, and 50 million people's credit card information and personal information is out there. That's because you have so-called trusted third parties holding your information in vast databases, where a single hack can get millions and millions of records. Whereas with this situation, okay, great, maybe they could hack your account and they can get your information. And in that case, it's just maybe your email address, because a blockchain account doesn't have a name attached to it. And because of that, it's much more safe and secure from the standpoint of the overall, which is what the government's always saying, we have to protect the people. Well, in this case, to protect them, the best way to do that is to leave them alone and not get everybody together in one big database where a single attack can get it all. This way they'd have to do millions of individual attacks, and some you might be successful, some you might not. But that's on individual accounts, as opposed to the blockchain as a whole, where the transactions actually take place. And there are other things now that are coming out that further secure your Bitcoin that we can talk about, later on. But the bottom line is, this is much safer, much more secure than anything that the banks or the governments have to offer, because it's individualized, and we're not doing things where you have large groups of people where a single attack can, get all their information. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what Bitcoin is. But, I am I wish I'd looked at it sooner, but I first got involved in it late last year, and I have become a real believer at this point, especially with the results I've had with Gladiacoin. Now let's kind of segue into that. Gladiacoin is a program that actually started on December 1st of 2016, which, that's relatively young. But I can say it is the best program, number one, I've ever looked at. It has the best website. It works like clockwork. They pay every single day, 365 days a year, without stop, without fail. And the way the system works is basically you get involved by putting Bitcoin into it. And what you're doing is you're hiring a trading platform. This is not a business opportunity. It's a situation where they have developed a program that trades at high speed in Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. And the system looks at all the markets throughout the world, finds where Bitcoin is low and buys it, and then goes to where Bitcoin is high and sells it. And then they keep the difference in between. And they do it at such a high speed rate and in such volumes that they can make enough money that, number one, they can make a profit for themselves. And number two, every single person involved in the program gets 2.2% per day, which ultimately will double your money in 90 days or less. Well, if all you do is just put it in, it's kind of like a savings account of the old days where you actually got paid interest. In this case, your money doubles every 90 days. And there are some people that do just that. They just put it in and that's all they want to do. What really makes it cool is the second part, and it's what's known as a binary program. And anybody out there involved in network marketing probably recognizes that term. And this is not network marketing. It just has a network involved where if you refer two people, one person on the left side, one person on the right, because each person has two spots underneath them. If you put two people in that you personally refer, what that does is that qualifies you for a binary bonus. And that is everybody coming in brings Bitcoin with them. And the system pays on the smaller amount. Like if you have like one leg or the other, left or right, is going to accumulate more people and more Bitcoin than the other, just as a natural effect. So it pays on the short leg, the one that has the least amount of Bitcoin. Today, I got paid on 10 Bitcoin. I had in the last 24 hours, a bunch of people got in and an accumulation of 10 Bitcoins were there. And I got 15% of that. So I got 1.5 Bitcoin from the binary bonus, plus I got 0.088888, which is the 2.2% times my 4 Bitcoin that I have in the trading program. So I got paid about 1.8 Bitcoin today. And I'm just going to plug that into my calculator real quick. 1.8 times 1,300 is the current daily rate, about $2,340 today. And that pays into the account and it's considered towards the doubling process. So basically my account, which instead of, if I just let it sit there, it would double in 90 days. I renewed this account last Thursday and I will probably double either tomorrow or Saturday. So in 8 or 9 days, it's going to double instead of 90. That's because I'm utilizing the binary network below me. Now you don't have to do that. If you don't want to talk to people, all you want to do is put it in and let it ride. That's fine. You can do that. And every 90 days, it'll double. So if you put 1 Bitcoin in today, a year from today, you'll have 16. That's not bad. If you figure $1,300 now, if you figure 16 times 1,300, that would be $20,800, assuming Bitcoin doesn't increase in value. If it increases to the 2,000 to 4,000 that we're talking about, it could be anywhere from 32,000 to 64,000 on a $1,300 investment. So you can see that either way, you're going to make a lot of money.
So how is this? How is it doubling? What's
what it's doing is it's from the high speed trading. They are taking your Bitcoin and using it as the basis for the trades. And when they, they're multiplying constantly, and that, they're apparently the program is set up so that they've got it built in. They know what they can afford to pay people. And at 2.2% per day, which is what everybody gets, in 90 days, if all you do is just put it in and let it go at 2.2 per day, you're going to double it in 90 days. And it comes from the high speed trades. And it's just, there's all kinds of, that stuff going on throughout the world. If you ever wonder why, when you make a charge, say you have a debit card and you make a purchase with your card, it comes out of your account instantly, but it doesn't get to the other party that you bought from instantly. Mm-hmm. It's held by the banks, and they make money on the overnight. It sits overnight, and they have the same thing, high-speed trading, where they're going buying low and selling high, and they're making money off, trillions of dollars every day doing this stuff. And then they finally give it back. So, this kind of thing happens on a regular basis, but we're just dealing with a different commodity, so to speak. And, like I said, they pay on a regular, every single day, like clockwork. Every day, the program, the servers shut down at 1 o'clock Eastern time for about 25 minutes, and they do system maintenance, and they calculate all the payments for everybody. They come back up, and you can look in your back office, and you can see what you're going to get paid. And then about 4 o'clock Eastern, the payments start coming out to the blockchain wallet, which is where your Bitcoin is housed. Just like you have a wallet to put your cash in physically, when you're dealing with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, you have to have an online wallet, so to speak, that houses it. And that's done, that's where your Bitcoin is held. And you basically have a receive code or an address that recognizes your wallet, and you give that to blockchain or to Gladiacoin. And every day, like clockwork, they pay to that wallet. Once it's in your wallet, you can do whatever you want with it.
All right, hold that thought. We'll talk about that more when we come back from the break. And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, and we will now return to the pre-recorded broadcast I did with Jim Ram. I'm a newbie to all this, so I don't really know what's going on. All I know is my friend Gus calls me up and says, "Hey, set up this virtual wallet thing." I'm like, "What is a virtual wallet?" And he's like, "Well, you go here and you do this," and I think it was blockchain.info.
Right.
I think it was the website. And I got to say, I was I was rather impressed with the security measures. I mean, you have to do all this, passwords, codes, things. It's not difficult, but it's kind of it's pretty elaborate.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing, because we're dealing with something that hackers love. Anything they can do to get free money, so to speak, they're going to try. And basically, this is designed, and the whole idea behind blockchain wallets is they do everything they can to make it super secure. And you have to realize that you have to keep track of all the information regarding it, because you're the only one on the planet that has access to it. If you lose your password and ID numbers and stuff, you're stuck. Whatever's in there is gone. No one will ever have it, and you won't get it. So that's the downside, but the upside is that's what it takes to make it secure, so that someone else can't get a hold of your funds. Because there's a lot of people out there trying. And we've recently implemented another thing called 2FA, which is two-factor verification or authentication. Yeah. And that's an app on your phone that links to your Gladiacoin account, that every time you try to log in, you put in your username and password, and it brings up another screen, says put in your 2FA token. And you have your phones open to that app, and it's generating a 6-digit code every 30 seconds. And that code is good for 30 seconds only. You have to get that code from your phone and type it into your computer in time to get logged in. And the reason they did that is because too many people were running the risk of having their accounts hacked, because of weak security, poor passwords, and things like that. And this way, you not only have to have something that in other words, your username and password, but you have to have something in your possession, which is your phone, which is generating these codes. And that way it makes it it's almost impossible for a hacker to gain access to your account now. And that way you can be sure that no one's going to get your funds. And that's the whole idea behind it. And no one else has access. Like I said, the same thing here. You're the only person on the planet that has access to it. you got to make sure you keep track of everything, because if you lose something, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
They can't.
So Gus says, set this up. I said, okay. So I did. Apparently, he set up an account for me on Gladiacoin, and shortly thereafter, funds started coming into my wallet.
Yep.
and I'm going, wow, this is like magic money for me. I'm like, this is cool. I suppose I probably should sit down and take the time to learn more about it so I can actually work it myself. But in the meantime, he's doing it all for me. But for those who are interested in learning more about all this, I actually created a web page on my website, robschannel.com. If you go there, robschannel.com/Bitcoin. It's not in the main menu, so it's just sort of for those who are listening to this broadcast. Then go there and learn a little bit more about Bitcoin and how it actually works and stuff like that. But for the purpose of this interview, Jim, how do people get involved? I mean, right now, Gus is kind of managing this and another guy named Jerry, but what are the steps in getting started?
Okay. There's a process that you ought to follow to make things go the smoothest. The first thing you should do is go to blockchain.info. That's blockchain.info, and get a free blockchain wallet. That's what houses your Bitcoin. And they're very simple to set up. It takes maybe 5 minutes. And then from that point, then you need to get some Bitcoin and put it into it. And that can be done through, believe it or not, there are Bitcoin ATMs. It's just like a regular ATM machine, except you put cash in and it sends Bitcoin to your blockchain wallet. It's really cool. And there's all different kinds of ways, but honestly, that's the quickest, fastest, and easiest.
I used Coinbase. I think
Coinbase is
Coinbase.com, I think.
Yeah, they're not a bad thing, but they're one of the big problems with Coinbase is it's a U.S. company, and the IRS has already tried to get them to turn over a list of all their U.S. customers.
Wow.
So I have an account with them, but I don't use it for much at all, other than occasionally buying some Bitcoin. And oddly enough, I was up to where I could buy $5,000 a week, and the other day I looked at it and it had me down to $250. So I don't know what's going on there. They're having some issues or something, but
yeah, I was limited to 150 because I linked it to a credit card.
Yeah, if you link to a credit card, it's pretty low. You can hook it to your bank account, and that gives you more of a boost. But for some reason, I was up and then it went back down, and I don't know what happened. But there's all different kinds of ways. And let me give out another website they can look at. And this is a site that I've set up for people in my literally anybody can use it. The one caveat is there is a sign up link on that page that you should not use. If you're here listening to Rob's show, obviously, you want to use his sign up link. If you go to mine, then you may not end up under him, and that's the thing you don't want, because I have two different sections of the business of this thing, and Rob is under one side, and this current sign up link is set for a different one. So you'd end up under me, but not necessarily under Rob. So anyway, the address is doubleyourbitcoin, the numbers 123.com, doubleyourbitcoin123.com. And I put that together as a source of general information about Bitcoin. Like I said, there's a bunch of videos there by Andreas Antonopoulos and Bill Gates and a few others that are talking about Bitcoin and how good it is and where it's going. And there's also webinar recordings that you can see of John Kasarab, who's a friend of mine. He's a 40-year financial planner. And since he discovered this is all he does. He doesn't recommend anything else in the financial world other than this program. And that's pretty good coming from someone with 40 years experience in financial planning. But there's a lot of information there, including a thing on how to set up a blockchain wallet, how to get it funded with Bitcoin, and that kind of information. There's also links of different Bitcoin sources. Once you have a blockchain wallet set up and you have some Bitcoin in it, that's when you go back and click on Rob's referral link. Again, that's gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba. That will take you to the site where you can then choose the level of account you want to start up. There are 7 different levels. The bottom one is Spartacus 1, which is 0.05 Bitcoins, which is probably $65-70 right now. That one does not take part in the doubling process, however. All it does is allow you to sign people up in the referral program, and you'll get 5% of everything that comes in on the lower of the two legs. And that way it's all designed to get you to the point where you can afford to upgrade as soon as possible to the next levels that do have part of the doubling process. But it's a bargain basement price kind of thing to help someone who just can't afford the better ones. The next one is Spartacus 2, which is a tenth of a Bitcoin, somewhere around $130 right now. And that one gives you 6% of the downline plus 2.2% per day. And that goes up. The next one is 0.3 Bitcoins, then 0.5, then 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, and 4 Bitcoin. The top one gets 15% of the downline, which is really good. And it also puts you in a position where you can double much quicker just because of the functionality, and you're making more money each day. The other thing to keep in mind, and I have to, because a lot of people get involved and they say, hey, and they'll start at the lower levels, and I'm not getting paid to my blockchain wallet every day. What happens is you get paid 2.2% per day by the company every single day. It's paid into your financial account in the website until you accrue 0.03 or more. When you have 0.03 in your back office, that triggers a payment to your blockchain wallet. So if you're starting at the lower levels, it could take a couple of weeks before you get a payment to your wallet. At 2 Bitcoin, you will then, 1 Bitcoin you'll get every other day. 2 Bitcoin and 4 Bitcoin you get paid daily, because every time you get 2.2%, it equals more than 0.03. And that way, it really, hopefully that'll clear things up, because people ask questions about that. But anyway, my website, the Double Your Bitcoin 123, will walk you through the entire process. It tells you how to get signed up. It has step-by-step instructions on setting up a Gladiacoin account. There's also step-by-step instructions on setting up the new two-factor authentication programs. And I update it pretty much daily to make sure that everybody has got the information they need to have things go as smoothly as possible. But again, don't use the sign-up link there. Go back to Rob's sign-up page, the gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba.
Okay, we're talking about referral links and how people can support what I'm doing. If you're interested in supporting my ministry and the project that I have for Seed, I'm using this as one of the ways that I'm trying to raise money to make that happen. But I guess the beauty of this is not only would people be helping me out and what I'm trying to do, but they'd be helping themselves out as well, wouldn't they?
Exactly. They would be in a very short time, if with a little bit of effort, if someone wants to take part in the active portion, the binary thing, if they refer it to people, I mean, you're not limited to 2, but at least 2 will get you set up so that you can take advantage of that binary bonus. The more people as they come into your into the downline, that's going to increase your payments, because you get paid daily on what comes in below you. And the neat thing is, when those people upgrade, you get paid on that. And then next month, when they renew, you get paid on that. So it sets up a residual income kind of a thing. And obviously, when someone's making money, especially as simple as this, they're not going to stop. And that's what happens is the system is designed to double in 90 days or less. But the key is doubling. Once it has doubled, that's the end of your contract. And unlike a bank with a CD or something where you have to wait the entire term of the CD before you get paid, this one pays you every single day from the outset. So when you have reached 50% of the doubling process, you've already got your initial investment back. And then the second 50%, it's paying you the doubling portion. But when the program is over, all of your Bitcoin is back in your wallet, what you originally put in plus the same amount in the doubling. So there's nothing left in the system, and then you're given 24 hours to renew, and you just put however much back in, and that starts the process over. If you don't renew, what happens is you basically are left out of the payment system. At one point we thought you would lose your entire downline and everything you'd worked on, but that's not the case, at least in the short term. I would imagine if you go 90 days or more, they may take you out of the system. But at this point, I actually had one of my accounts that I wasn't paying attention, and it doubled, and I didn't notice it till about a week later. And I went and I checked it, and I saw, oh, this big red sign says you have been locked, your account's blocked. And what that means is it's not being paid So the only thing I lost was the daily payments that I would have gotten had I renewed when I was supposed to. But basically what goes on is once it doubles, you've got all the Bitcoin back in your wallet. If you opt to renew, then you just pay the Bitcoin back in again. And you also have that part that's doubled that you can either upgrade, or you can put into another account to bring it up higher, or you can spend it. And that's the cool thing. And that's what we haven't talked about yet. How do you get, go from Bitcoin back to dollars? And there's any number of ways. If you know someone who's getting involved in the system, you can sell them some Bitcoin. They can hand you cash and you can transfer Bitcoin to their wallet, and then they can get started. You can also obtain what's known as a BitPay Visa card. There are several different kinds, but BitPay is one of the better ones. I've got one and it works great. For $10, you can get this Visa card. It is based on a U.S. bank, so you do have to provide know your customer documents with social security number and address and all that kind of thing. But you get this card and you can load it with Bitcoin. And when you load it, it takes the Bitcoin, it figures out what the dollar amount is in the current rate, and it puts that amount of dollars on your card, and it's like a debit card. You can spend that anywhere in the world that Visa is accepted. I've gone to Costco and bought gas. I've gone to the post office and paid for postage. I've gone to my local Chinese restaurant and got dinner, and it works like a charm. So it makes it very simple to carry on daily financial transactions. And then again, like we said earlier, there are more and more places you can go, like Home Depot, Starbucks, Whole Foods, and you can pay directly with Bitcoin from your phone to their register without even transferring into dollars. So there's a lot of different ways to do this.
Now, if you do that, though, does that put you on the radar, so to speak, with the IRS, the Feds,
the individuals representing Satan?
Yeah, pretty much.
Theoretically, it can. It depends on what your status is, and that's something our friend Roger Sales has a lot to say about. If you believe yourself to be a taxpayer, then when you convert from Bitcoin to dollars, that possibly can be a taxable event, assuming there was an increase. You might also take a loss. If you bought Bitcoin at 1,000 and sell it at 800, you got a $200 loss there. So it may come into your favor. I don't know why anybody would do that, but it's a possibility. Theoretically, yes, the average American who doesn't know any better would think that they're taxable and therefore have to pay taxes on it when they convert to dollars. My advice is to find out what your status is and then make that decision. I'm not a tax advisor, so I'm not going to tell anybody, yes, you have to, or no, you don't. You just need to know what your status is and then decide that for yourself. I personally am an American national. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I am not subject to Title 26 of the Internal Revenue Code. And on top of that, I also have a ministry that everything is handled through, and the ministry is definitely non-taxable. So I don't worry about those things, but I can understand how some people do.
Yeah. Are you a free man in the land?
Yes, man, certainly am.
Oh, wow, man.
No social security number. No, I got rid of that in 1999, and lots of fun.
Wow,
I've been
dude.
studying this stuff for years.
Another whole show just on that, man. I'm gonna have to have you on a few times. Like, I've been fascinated by that for quite some time. The de facto government versus de jure, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's quite the study.
Well, so talk about being a threat to the system. I would think cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and things of that nature would be a huge threat to the Federal Reserve System and the IRS and all of that. So, and the banks in general, the central banking systems. And every time we go to war somewhere, it's usually an issue of, okay, where do they not have a central bank? Okay, here's a war. Now you have a central bank. So being that these, I'm just gonna say it, Luciferian bastards are out there doing this, because that's what they are. And they're making it, a worldwide thing, the central banking system. This is outside of all that. So I would think that behemoth, that Goliath, is very angry with all of this and probably doing everything they can to shut it down, no?
They are, but in order to shut it down, they would have to shut down the entire internet. and it ain't going to do that. And that's the beauty of the system. The way the thing is it's running on computers all over the world, and they have to agree. The entire blockchain, when you move Bitcoin from point A to point B, even if I transfer it from one of my wallets to another one within the same system, I have sub accounts, and within the same wallet, I can move it from, say, like a card slot to the open point where the paper is, thinking it that way. And when I do that, the overall system has to have a minimum of 3 confirmations before that transaction is actually confirmed and approved. And everybody on the planet has to be on the same sheet of music. So just shutting down one little area somewhere ain't going to do it. Shut down a handful of computers someplace, not going to hurt the system, because the system runs on thousands of computers all over the world. And that being the case, they can't shut it down without shutting down the whole internet. And because of the way it's designed, they can't control it either. They can't regulate it per se. The only thing they can do, like with the state of New York, they have shut down the ability of New York citizens to utilize certain exchanges like Coinbase or some others that are U.S. corporations. They basically can't use those, but there's several other ways that people in New York can get Bitcoin because they can't get to all of them. And that's the nice thing. If they're not functioning within the U.S., the states don't really have any control over it. And that makes it much easier to, they finally got to something where they just can't screw with it, so to speak. It's amazing. But it is truly, and I honestly believe this thing is God inspired, because it gives us something that we can use to bypass the satanic, government system and the the central bank system that is, milking us dry, stealing our wealth. And now we're in a situation where we can strike at the head of the serpent, so to speak, and bypass them altogether, take money out of their pocket, and keep it somewhere where they don't know where it is and they can't do anything about it. And that's if for no other reason, I'm involved in it just because it gives me a system that I can use if and when cash goes away. And when that, that will necessitate even more people coming up with new ways to make payments with Bitcoin directly. And there's lots of them now, but it's going to grow. We're still in the infancy. In 10 years from now, Bitcoin transactions will be a piece of cake anywhere.
Now, that, of course, that assumes we still have functioning computer technology and the internet still intact. I mean, if there's an EMP or something and we lose the ability to even have computers or use them, and or if the internet goes down, you get all these people talking about Obama's in charge of the internet now, he turned it over to the United Nations and whatever, blah blah blah. And in my mind, turning off the internet would be like the worst thing the elite could ever do, because it's the best tool they have for controlling the masses right now. I mean, they call it Tracebook for a reason. I mean, we've made it so easy for the alphabet soup companies to.
This is a dream for them. I mean, they could, if they tried to get people to give half the information that are being given now on Facebook, there'd be hue and cry and screaming everywhere. And
so that would be they would lose, in my opinion, they would lose a substantial amount of control if the internet went down. So I could see them trying to restrict the internet like it is in some countries already. I could certainly see that, but short of a worldwide catastrophe causing the grid to go down, I don't see the internet going away anytime soon.
No.
Of course, some psycho, could do that. I mean, they could, launch an EMP or what have you and cause problems. But as long as we have technology and technology is available to us, this is a viable, usable currency that's not in any danger, at least at present.
And that's the thing. If the internet was to go down, not only would it shut down what we're using, but it would shut down what the system is using.
Yeah, all the other stuff would go down too. Regular.
And literally, at that point, Gladiacoin and Bitcoin would be the least of our worries. At that time, we'd be looking at the apocalypse. Just day-to-day survival would be, or minute-to-minute survival for that matter, would be the key thing. But until that happens, I look at it from the standpoint, I make hay while the sun shines. And as the system, keeps paying me right now, I'm playing on the house's money. I have been for the last 9 weeks.
Yeah.
I got my $1,000 that I put in back out, and I'm just, letting it roll over and having fun with it. And the nice thing is it's supporting God's work now. When this account that I'm working on right now doubles in the next day or so, I'm going to have 4 Bitcoin that I'm going to sell, and all the proceeds are going to go to a friend of mine who's a missionary in Mexico who's trying to buy some land to put up his 3rd church. And that's something that I wouldn't have been in a position to do, 10 weeks ago without this program. But now I'm able to take this and just, okay, we're going to send this money to missions, and it's going to build a church somewhere, which is, Satan's not going to like, and that's a good thing. That's what I like to do, is just supporting ministries around the world. And that's something that this system is allowing. As long as it's up and running, I'm going to ride it till it runs into the dirt.
Yeah.
But,
so I got a question in the chat room. It looks like maybe it came in late. So just by way of review, the question is, how does the Gladiacoin, how much does the Gladiacoin service cost? So if somebody was interested in supporting what I'm doing, they would go to my referral link, gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba.
Yep.
And, of course, they need to get their blockchain to have the wallet, and then find a source to buy the Bitcoin. Like Coinbase.com is where I bought mine, but apparently there are others. Yep. So to answer that question, how much does it cost?
Absolutely nothing. That's the beauty of this. That's why I tell you, this is the best thing I've ever seen. They don't charge anything to be a part of the system. The only thing you pay for is the Bitcoin, which stays, it's yours. So you're putting it in, and it comes back to you. So you're getting twice back what you put in, and there's no charge to use the system. There's no fees, no nothing.
Yeah, so this is like, it would be the equivalent of going to your local gold and silver, company that you could buy and sell gold and silver, and buying an American Eagle coin, and just sitting on it. Right now,
theoretically.
Well, but I mean, it's a digital version of that essentially.
Right.
Right now, gold is at 1263, and silver is at 1723, and Bitcoin's hovering not too far behind gold, I think, right? It's like 12.
Last I checked earlier today, it was at 1300. Let me see where we're at right now. 1330.17.
Wow, so it's more than gold. More than so one Bitcoin's worth more than an ounce of gold.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now, if you looked at it that way, then that would be assuming in 90 days that $1,200 you spent on gold was now $2,400.
Yeah.
The best analogy is really like going to a bank and buying a CD. And that's why this works for everybody, because everybody that goes to a bank and buys a CD, you put your money down, and whatever the terms say, it's a 90-day CD. At 90 days, you get your money back with interest, but the interest is lousy, and you got to wait 90 days to get any of your money back. Where with this one, it starts giving your money back the very next day. You get 2.2% per day paid to your wallet. And at the 50% mark, you've got your initial investment back to you. And then at the 100%, you've got the extra doubling of whatever that amount was. So, but, that's the best way I can put it. And it works literally for everyone who gets involved.
And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba, for the second hour of the broadcast. We're listening to a pre-recorded show that I did with Sergeant Jim Ram. Let's continue.
This system gives us something that we can take advantage of and use it for, to bypass the banking system, support ministries, to take care of ourselves, to buy the supplements we need, whatever the case might be. And it's doing it for a lot of people. In 10 weeks, as far as I can figure, I've got 500 or 600 people below me, and I've only signed up maybe a dozen myself. The rest are people that came in from spillover from above me, because there's only 2 spots under each person. So the people above me only have 2 spots, and I've got some people up there that are signing up a lot of folks, and they're just coming down until they end up in an opening, and that supports me. And
so it's a forced matrix system where you can only have 2, but if you recruit a third person or whatever, you could just the system
just end up below you in some open space.
An open space in one of the other legs.
Yeah, and the system pays to infinity. That's the other thing that just boggles my mind. But it's set up so that it doesn't matter how deep it is. Once you have your 2 people referred, you get paid on every single person that comes in on the weak leg of your downline. And the system can actually be set so that after you get your initial 2 in, you can set it so that every single person goes to the lower of the 2. Because it's possible, it's unlikely, but it's possible that that they could flip-flop. You could have one day would be bigger on one side, then the next day would be on the other. Starting out, it could be that way. Once it's been going a while, it's unlikely. But you can set it so that it will automatically put the people coming in on the weakest side so that you're going to get paid from it. Because if they go on the strong side, you don't get anything from that. But on the weak side, it does the job. And
so that's how they're making their money then. So if you have a strong side, that's where they're using and they're saying, okay, thank you, we're using your money for investments, that's great, that's what a bank does anyway. And on whatever your weak side is, they're saying, okay, this is what you get to keep.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, on my main account, like I said, I have 7 personal accounts, and then 1 for my wife and 3 for friends that I'm managing. And on my main one that I've been running since the February 17th, on my strong leg, there's about 100 and some Bitcoin. On the weak leg, I was just paid on 10. So there's quite a discrepancy there. So I'm getting paid bonuses on the little one, and they're able to use the little one and the big one to make all the other stuff. So that's what allows them to pay as much as they do on a regular basis to infinity, because they've got far more coming in than they have going out, so to speak. And I'm sure they've done all the work, because these guys really, literally, they're geniuses. The system is in the actual servers are in Singapore, outside the reach of nosy governments and whatnot. And the owners, a lot of people, well, who's running this thing? I have no idea, and I don't want to know. They maintain their anonymity for a reason, because as far as I know, they are in the United States. But other than that, I don't know anything about them, and I don't really care. They've set up a system that is absolutely phenomenal. It pays on a daily basis. If you screw up and you don't put the right receive code in so that the system knows where to pay you, it won't absorb those fees or keep them. It will put a notice in your back office saying, hey, we've got all this money for you, and we can't pay you because you didn't put in a receive code for your wallet. And when you do that, boom, it all shows up. So, I mean, these guys are really good. If there's any kind of issues, like if someone tries to hack the system or something, they are on it like white on rice. They take care of everything. And as long as they're doing that, be anonymous. That's great. More power to you. Just keep it coming.
No, as soon as I started talking about Bitcoin, it's only been recently, because I just heard about it.
Right.
I've heard about it for a while now, but I've only recently started paying attention to it. People are like, oh, be careful, this is being used for drugs or whatever. And I'm like, okay, tell me a currency that's on Earth right now
It's not.
that's not being used for bad stuff. I mean,
and I'll show you something that's not a currency.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, whether you're talking gold, silver, US dollar, dinar, I don't care what you're talking about. There are people using it for good, and there are people using it for bad. So that's kind of a stupid argument, in my opinion.
Yeah, and actually, there's an hour and almost a 2-hour long YouTube video that Andreas Antonopoulos did. He was actually testifying before the Canadian Senate. Actually, I think it was one of their committees on finances or something. And they brought that up, because there were obviously some people there that really are hot to trot to regulate it. And he basically told him, he says, look, the indications, the number of people that are using Bitcoin for nefarious purposes are minuscule compared to the number of people that need this. I mean, there's 2 billion people on the planet that are unbanked in any way, shape, or form. They have a cash basis, if anything, and this, with simply having a cell phone, they've got a Swiss bank in their pocket. And this opens up the banking capabilities to all these people that otherwise wouldn't have them. And regulation could just destroy that process. And the thing is it's a proven fact that the vast majority of criminal activity takes place in US dollars, in cash.
That's for sure.
Very, very few are, when you think about the number of people that are involved in criminal activities worldwide, and then you figure the number of people that are involved in criminal activities that have technical knowledge, you go from a big number to a really small number. The biggest crooks on the planet are governments. The bottom line is very, 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 very small amount of criminal activity is conducted in Bitcoin. Far more is done in the US dollar. And, no more would they be able to, and Andreas Antonopoulos basically said, at this point, law enforcement is able to deal with the crime, whether it's done in Bitcoin or whatever, just fine at this point. There's no indication that they need any more tools than what they have available to them at this point. And government regulation isn't going to make things better. It never has. It never will. Every time the government touches something, it gets worse, not better. So the best thing to do is leave it as it is. And so far, there have been a number of countries. I think Nigeria recently just said, hey, we can't do anything with it. It's on its own. We can't regulate it. We're not even going to try. And more countries are intelligent enough to figure that out. I don't have a lot of hope that the U.S. government or even the Canadians will be that good. But it would surprise me. Like I said, New York has already stepped into the arena real quick. We're going to either get our cut or you're not going to be able to practice here, kind of thing. And luckily, even if they do that, the people in New York can still trade in Bitcoin. They can still take part of this. They just have to find a different way to get their Bitcoin. Once they have it, they're good to go. And
you mentioned earlier, if you've got a cell phone, you can make this happen. And in kind of a funny story, I was in Kenya serving as a missionary there, working with Maasai warriors and whatnot. So yeah, we're at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, and we've got the Jesus film loaded onto an iPod with is translated into Swahili and everything, and we got a bed sheet hanging on a mud hut, about ready to show the Jesus film right to these Maasai warriors.
Neat.
And we're way out in the middle of nowhere, right? And all of a sudden we hear a cell phone go off. And of course, all of us Americans are checking our pockets, And I kid you not, this Maasai warrior pulls back his robe, and right next to his machete, he grabs his cell phone and goes walking off into the woods, And I was like, what? But then the more I thought about it, well, that actually makes sense. I mean, because infrastructure for cellular technology is a whole lot easier than setting up phone lines and everything for hardwired phone lines or internet or anything like that. So, and then when my eyes were open to that, I saw that they had cell phone towers out in the savannah that were, the kind that were disguised to look like trees. But, when you really you look at it, okay, that's a cell tower. And so, even, these people are walking around in bare feet, right, and living in mud huts, out in the, but they have a cell phone. But they have a cell phone, and depending on their data rate, I suppose, they could theoretically be out there trading in Bitcoin or, doing that kind of stuff.
They actually set up a system. I can't remember if it was Kenya or Nigeria, somewhere over there, that they actually allow them. It's a system that they trade in cell phone minutes. And, if somebody needs to buy some eggs and he doesn't have money, he says, hey, can I give you a couple cell phone minutes? Sure, no problem. And that's a really cool thing. I saw the same thing a couple of years ago. I was in Ukraine on a missions trip. And I mean, you go out in the villages, and I mean, they're in huts that are, 600-700 years old, not huts, but houses. But I mean, the one I was in, the walls were a foot thick and they were cracked, and you could literally see daylight coming through. And I mean, no plumbing. You get your water from a well, the old crank, windlass type. You go out there and you turn the crank and a bucket comes up. And outhouses out back, it's just a whole, a bucket in the ground, basically. but they each have 2 or 3 cell phones.
Sure.
And you go in the cities and it's even worse. I mean, they're everywhere. But that's the thing, many people, lots of people on the planet have cell phones, but they don't have access to banks. And this gives them a chance to do something financially. And the other thing I didn't mention is this is a system that's worldwide. You can literally be anywhere in the world as long as you have internet access and you speak English, Spanish, or Portuguese. You can do this. Right now, the website is set up in those 3 languages. And I've got somebody, in Romania. She speaks English, but most of the people she knows don't. And she's freaking out because she wants to do this in the worst way, but she doesn't have anybody she can deal with there. So we've got people in the States that are signing people up underneath her and building a program underneath her so that she's still going to make some money from it. But she wants to help the people in Romania because it would be a boom for them. But we either got to get the website translated or something for them so that they can do it, or teach them English, one or the other. But that's the cool part about it, is literally you can be anywhere in the world with a cell phone, and you can have a Swiss bank in your pocket, and you can conduct all kinds of transactions. And it's absolutely amazing what this technology is allowing. And Bitcoin is literally just the tip of the iceberg. We are with Bitcoin right now where the internet was in like 1989. And and the nice thing is, because we already have the technology, we don't have to have new hardware or anything. It's basically just software and that kind of thing. The system is going to grow faster and faster to where probably in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to start seeing even more ways that we can, purchase directly with Bitcoin. More stores and companies will be accepting it and that kind of thing. And it's just going to increase. But the people that get involved now, number one, it's probably as cheap as it's ever going to be from this point forward. And number two, you're just going to be that much farther ahead of the curve, because down the road, mark my words, virtually everybody on the planet will be trading in Bitcoin. Maybe not because they want to, but because they have to.
Yeah, it looks
just
that
the way
way.
We're going.
If it's not Bitcoin, some other cryptocurrency, and there's a bunch of them out there, but
there are, but this is the biggest and the oldest and the strongest. So it'd be hard to bypass.
So, okay, let's break it down. When somebody says, okay, Rob, I'm intrigued, I'm interested, I believe in what you're doing, I want to support your ministry, I want to help you with seed. What do they do?
First off,
how does it benefit me, and how does it benefit them?
Yeah, I would recommend, number one, they go to my website, doubleyourbitcoin123.com. Use that as an information source. Just go there, look at everything, watch the videos, watch the webinars, listen to the recordings, and then when you're done doing that, when you feel comfortable, and if you have questions, there's contact information that you can send an email or call me directly from that website. Once you're ready to sign up, if you decide that that's what you want to do, pray about it, make sure it's right for you. Then go to gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba. That way, when you sign up, you'll be supporting Rob's ministry. And you'll be supporting mine as well, because Rob is under me in that leg. And that's the key thing. Number one, get educated, learn about it. Don't jump in, until you feel comfortable with it. Like I said, it's always best to look at the things, pray about it, get the information, make sure it's right for you. And then once you've got the information, if you need to make a phone call, send an email, whatever, I'm happy to talk to you. That's pretty much what I do all day long. And then from that point, and there's also live, there's a link on the homepage there to our live webinars that are held twice a day, Monday through Friday, at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, or noon and 6 Pacific. And then we also have one at 9:30 p.m. on Eastern on Sunday. And that way, John Cassera, my friend who's the financial planner with 40 years of experience, he's the one that does those webinars. You can get online either by phone or by computer or tablet or whatever and listen to it. You can get on at the end. They take questions and answer. There's all kinds of information there. So if you want to have any questions from, he's really the horse's mouth. Get on one of those webinars and ask him questions. But, get all the information you need. But the key is, when you're done, come back and sign up under gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba. And that way you'll get the information. And then when you're done, number one, you'll be supporting Rob's ministry. You'll also develop a because every time you or anyone underneath you bring in Bitcoin, that is a bonus that's paid to Rob. He gets percentage of that. You will also get bonuses on things that come in underneath you, and the percentage that you get for daily trading as well. So you're going to help yourself, you're going to help Rob's ministry, and you can help other ministries that you're in contact with, your local church, that kind of thing too. So it's a win-win for everybody. And like I said, there's no cost. It doesn't cost a penny to be involved in it. You put your Bitcoin in, you get twice as much out. That's not a cost, that's a benefit. So all in all, there's no downsides. And just check the information out. And by all means, if there's anybody listening who's in Central Ohio, every Thursday night I do local live webinar, or not webinars, but presentations at the Gospel Light Baptist Church at 35 South Galena Road in Sunbury, Ohio. And if you're in Central Ohio and want to know, just go to my site, wbitcoin123.com, send me an email, and I'll send you directions and whatever you need to know. But every night, including today at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I will be there, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of people there tonight from what I hear. And I go through the whole thing, answer questions at the end. If there's time, we help people get set up. And it's a great, great system, and it's growing like crazy. So now's the time to get in. Like I said, Bitcoin's at $1,300. It was $1,000 when I got in 2.5 months ago, and it's going up and up and up. So, now's the time to get involved because it'll work for you, and you'll get your money back real quick.
And just to reiterate, when you get in at whatever level you're comfortable getting in. But what you're doing is you're buying Bitcoin for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That will be housed in a structured force matrix system, to help with investments and help other people as well. But whatever coin you buy, whatever amount you buy, that's at whatever the current value of Bitcoin is. But just sitting on the coin itself, if current trends are any indication, you're going to just appreciate in value anyway.
Oh yeah,
just sitting on the coin.
Just an example. When I started on February 8th, I used one Bitcoin that I paid about $1,000 for. Today, I got paid 1.8 Bitcoins. So almost twice what I put into that started my investment, I got paid in one day. Basically, that translates to $2,400 today. And that's double what I paid in way back when. And I'm doing that. That's not uncommon anymore. I have my low days are about $300 or $400. My high days are anywhere right around here, and that's going to increase. We've got guys that have 3 or 4 positions, all at 4 Bitcoins that are paying. They're doubling every 24 hours. They're literally making $35,000, $40,000 a day, and that's just amazing. And the one guy that I know of that did that started out with 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Yeah. And it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. And that's the beauty. You can start out low and you don't ever have to buy Bitcoin again. It just takes a little longer to get to the higher levels, but it will happen. All you got to do is put it in and let it go. So that's the best thing. Is I don't see any downsides to it. And as far as how long this will last, Antonopoulos believes there's going to be volatility in Bitcoin for a number of years to come. And the only other thing that can interfere with it is government interaction. And so far, like I said, with servers in Singapore, anonymous ownership team, we're doing what we can, or they're doing what they can to make sure that isn't a problem. I don't know how they could really cause a problem because they're not doing anything different than what other, commodity traders, banks, and other things are doing. The only thing is this is a system outside the system, and that's why they want to attack it. But bottom line is it's going to be tough for them. This thing it's got the potential to go for a number of years yet. So, ride it while you can. And, by that time we'll figure something else out.
Yeah. Well, in my limited understanding of all this and just posting a few things here and there on Facebook about various Bitcoin related things that I've been finding, what I keep seeing is everybody always, or not everybody, but there's always somebody who says, oh, be careful with that. whether it's Bitcoin funding team or whether it's Gladiacoin or whatever.
Yeah.
What
know-it-alls. Yeah,
well,
I was going to say a lot of times, I have these people that are self-proclaimed brilliant, experts that, I've determined that that's a Ponzi scheme. And if I ask them, the first thing I do is say, okay, define a Ponzi scheme. And they can't do it. A Ponzi scheme is when the people coming in pay for or fund the bonuses paid to the people that have been in there a while. So the people who have been in a while will continue recruiting more people coming in. And it's the people who start, coming in last lose. This is not a Ponzi scheme. When you put your Bitcoin into the system, you immediately get paid back the next day. Everybody does. So it's, your Bitcoin doesn't go anywhere. It goes into the system and it's traded and it comes back to you on a daily basis. And you get your doubling just like the first person gets in, doesn't get anything more than the last person getting in. And I found this out in my own case because I have accounts. Like I said, my oldest one will be 10 weeks old tomorrow. My newest one's maybe 4 weeks old. And when I start up my new one, it was getting paid exactly the same one my old one was. So if in a Ponzi scheme, that's impossible. The people at the bottom never get paid at all, let alone on a daily basis. So that's just pure bunk. It's just somebody who thinks they're a know-it-all. They're looking for excuses not to take action and getting involved in something. They're trying to make themselves look good by being so boisterous and say, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. And they don't. Bottom line.
I looked at some of these too. My first thought was, when you see the 2-leg deal and all that, and of course I've done network marketing before. I was in Amway, Quorum, Equinox, you name it. Back in the 90s, I did it, and never really made any money on any of it. But I looked at it too, and I'm going, wow, this looks like a Ponzi scheme. So I looked up what a Ponzi scheme is, and when I read how that actually works, I didn't see how this, other than the visual structure looking similar, I didn't see how the payout was even remotely similar to a Ponzi scheme, which seems to be kind of top-down payments, where the person at the top is controlling, and like you said, the person on the bottom typically doesn't make anything.
Yeah.
Where this seems
everybody gets
paid of that. Here. Yeah, this almost looks like the reverse of that, where pretty much everybody, wherever you are in the program, all has the exact same equal opportunity as everybody else.
Exactly. The best example of a Ponzi scheme is Social Security.
Right, exactly.
The people that are just getting in now are never going to get anything out of it.
Exactly. And, even I got into Social Security, of course, as soon as I got my Social Security card as a young person. But I knew even when I was delivering newspapers, I had a paper out from age 7 to 15. I knew even at that age, I was like, Social Security isn't going to be there or be worth anything to me when I'm 60. Yep. I mean, and I've been saying that ever since. I mean, people are like, oh, what are you going to do for retirement? I'm like, I ain't going to rely on the government. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. When I retired, I had to apply for Social Security, and I got one $211 payment. They said that's all I'll ever get.
Ooh.
And they told me, I asked them why, and they said, well, because you've got a police pension. That would be double dipping. I said, no, I paid into both. I should get them both out. Double dipping is when you schmucks pay in once and get paid out twice. That's what the government does. But, I said, that's fine. I don't want anything to do with you people. I won't take Medicare, Medicaid, any of that junk, because it only gives you access to stuff that doesn't work anyway. But I don't want anything to do with the government, and that's the way I operate. To me, they don't exist, and as far as I'm concerned, to them, I don't exist. And I like it that way. Yeah. But the bottom line is this thing works. It is absolutely phenomenal. And the people that want to sit there and say it's a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme or whatever, fine. That's okay. Go ahead and feel that way. Next. I'm not wasting my time. I've got people calling me wanting to get in. I don't have to go out looking for people. Yeah. I constantly have, daily, I have 2, 3, 4 people a day I talk to that have called me. How do I get going on this? And it's taken on a life of its own. It's to the point where I spend more time on this than I do on my longevity business. And luckily, it's kind of on autopilot at this point. I make money from it, whether I'm doing anything or not, for the most part. But this is a great program, and it's the best thing I've ever seen. Research it for yourself. If you feel good about it, get in. The typical thing is never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Right.
I'm not saying you're going to lose. No one has lost anything in this. And I don't see anybody doing that, but just the same, it is an investment, and you shouldn't, you should go into it with your eyes wide open, but it will do the job for you.
And again, just to reiterate, neither one of us are licensed to give anybody financial advice.
Right.
This is just two guys having a conversation. Do your own research, look into
First
it.
Amendment radio.
Yeah, look, we're just having a conversation. We're not licensed. Okay, there's a disclaimer for you.
Yep.
But if people are interested, you've already got your two legs set up, and I'm in one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to your advantage as much as mine to help me out.
Exactly.
And since I don't really know what I'm talking about anyway, if somebody had questions.
Yeah, that's why I say that if they go to my website, the doubleyourbitcoin123.com, there's a contact me page, and it has my cell phone number and email address. You can send me an email. You can call me. Just be advised, I get so many robocalls anymore that I've got my voicemail set up. It says, if you don't leave a message, I will not return your call. And I tell everybody this number's on the national do not call list. If you're a telemarketer, hang up and never call back. Have a blessed day. So call, leave a message. If I'm free, I will answer. If I'm tied up, it'll go to voicemail, leave me a message, and I will call you back. Just make sure that you leave your name and phone number clearly so I can understand you, and I will call you back.
And we're back on the Revolutionary Radio Project. I am your host, Rob Skiba. For the final half-hour segment of the broadcast, we're listening to a pre-recorded show I did with Sergeant Jim Ram. Let's continue.
The upline is here to support the downline, and it's not the other way around. So my job is to make sure that people coming in have the information they need to get things done properly, as smoothly, as quickly as possible. I will say, however, this is a simple program. It's very simple and easy to do, but it is not for the simple. Mm-hmm. You must have at least rudimentary computer and cell phone skills. You will need a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you're going to have to get one. Simple as that. The way the system, the security system that is now set up, the two-factor authentication requires a smartphone, either a iPhone or a Android. And you've got to have one or the other in order to make it work. And all that information's on my website. And you've got to do that. You've got to, if you can do email and surf the web and make an online purchase, you should be able to do this without any problem. And as long as you can follow simple instructions, number one, do this. Number two, do this. That's all on my site. You can go from nothing until having a complete setup system running. And that's the key. You got to be able to do that. If you can, wonderful. Glad to have you. And I'll do everything I can to help you out. So that's my my deal from an upline standpoint. I will work to help you in any way I can.
Awesome.
And I just encourage you to just research it and do what you feel is right for you.
Awesome. Once again, Jim's website is doubleyourbitcoin123, the numbers 123.com. Go there, get educated, learn about what's going on. And if you're interested in helping me out with what I'm trying to do, you can use my referral link, gladiacoin.com/Rob Skiba, and get yourself signed up to not only help me, but also help yourself. And, if you've got a project that you're working on, you want to raise money for, or just, got some bills to pay, whatever the case may be, you can help yourself while you're helping me. And, of course, spread the word to others. And, hey, Jim, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on this evening and sharing your thoughts with us on all this.
I've had fun. I've really enjoyed it, and be happy to come back anytime.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to have you on again, maybe to have two shows, one talking about your do-it-yourself health stuff, and also to talk about free man and the land and all that kind of thing. I've been really fascinated by that. I've talked about it off and on some of my other broadcasts with some of my other guests, but to have a whole show to really drill into it, I think that'd be pretty cool.
It's a lot of study, and it's interesting. That's the thing. When you really look into it, it can be daunting in one way and very enlightening and empowering in another. So everybody that is listening to this ought to be involved in that endeavor as well.
Yeah.
Take whatever time you're spending watching football games and put it into this.
And just real quick, what's your Truth Frequency Radio show? What time is it?
Again, it's Your DIY Health every Thursday morning from 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific.
All right, awesome. So thank you once again, Jim, for coming on.
Good night.
And that's where that interview ended. It was actually the full interview went the full length of my typical show time, but I cut out some banter between us, mostly stuff dealing with his testimony and whatnot. If you want to learn more about all that, of course, you can listen to his shows here on TFR, or just contact him and you can learn more about his health-related products and more about his testimony and stuff like that. And the only reason I cut it out is because I wanted to make room for another pre-recorded show I did with a friend of mine who heard the initial pre-recorded show that I did with Jim when I first did the Google Hangout. A few people were able to watch that, and he said, hey, listen, I've got some advice that might help you to do this a little bit better. And wow, since then, initially the Bitcoin was worth $1,300 when we did that show. It's now worth $1,700. So it's gone up like $500 in about a week and a half. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this other interview that I did with my friend Jerry Zimmerman. In the previous interview, I was giving people my referral link, my direct referral link to sign up, but I've already got 2 people, and you can only have 2 people, 2 immediate legs. Of course, you could build down from there. So I'm bringing my friend Jerry Zimmerman on to talk about how we can best maximize my downline structure so that my ministry can benefit from it and maximize the returns, as well as for you guys that may be interested in supporting what I'm doing, how you can maximize your downline. So what I've done is I've created a special page on my robschannel.com website. It's if you go to robschannel.com/Bitcoin, and there you'll see a few videos to help you get familiar with what we're talking about, and contact information for Jerry Zimmerman, who can better help you guys get placed into this structure. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring him on right now, and he can tell us more about all that and why we should do it that way. So Jerry, are you there?
Yes, I am, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks for contacting me with the suggestion in the first place. So well, let's kind of just say why. I just explained briefly, but why is it not a good idea to go to my referral link and to instead contact you?
Well, because of the particular nature of this program, what is required, first of all, this is an investment program in Bitcoin. And all that is required of a person to make a return of 100% in 90 days is just put their Bitcoin in there in whatever program they choose to whatever level, and it will accumulate and double in 90 days. Now, but as a secondary way to make money is you can participate in the binary option of the program, which means that if you bring other people, customers, so to speak, to the program wants to thank you for bringing the business, and you can participate in what they also invest. And what that just means is if you personally refer at least 2 people underneath you, they become your left and your right leg, and that acts as a qualification for your position, so that now you are qualified to participate in all the volume in your left leg or right leg. The program pays you a percentage, depending on your program that you're involved in, of the lower volume of either leg, whatever it is. So it's always best to build level and to refer more people. So once you're qualified, it does you no good to keep using your link to bring 3rd, 4th, 5th person in, because you're already qualified. And if people sign up using your link, there are going to be people in your organization that still don't have their first 2 referrals. So why not use someone who signed up and then you say, hey, I'm going to use your link to sign up the next 2 people and get them qualified so they can start participating right as soon as possible in the binary bonuses, which otherwise they might be a week or 2 out before they even might find somebody. So the real benefit of joining this organization in this structure of someone who has a great outreach like you do, and people who are actually interested in supporting your ministry, is that they can benefit. It's like getting in a river that's flowing, and they can get into that stream and get qualified and start having volume built underneath them, that if they were to do this on their own, they would be off on some little creek off to the side that hardly gets any water. But if they get in your river here, they are going to be able to participate in a real influx of people and investments that is going to just grow over time. And they also get the benefit of being qualified by people they don't even know, because that helps everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because you and Gus were the ones that really just kind of approached me with this whole thing and said, hey, listen, we want to support you. This is one of the ways we think that we can really maximize our support for you. So therefore I trust you guys. And we've also been friends on Facebook for quite some time and had a lot of interaction. So first of all, I just want to publicly thank you guys for doing that. That's awesome. And just to say to everybody else that's out there who's considering maybe supporting this, I mean, seeing stuff on Facebook where people are like, well, that's not God's money. I'm like, well, neither is the dollar bills that you're carrying in your pocket. So, well, if you're talking silver and gold, well, you're having to buy silver and gold with the dollars that are in your pocket. And right now, Bitcoin, when we first did the interview that preceded us talking here, Bitcoin was at $1,200, which is pretty much exactly equal to, or within a few dollars, I think, of the value of gold. And gold's still at about 1,200 and change. But Bitcoin, as of today, which is May 10th, 2017, it's over $1,700. So if they just get in and just sit on the Bitcoin, it's already gone up $500 and since the previous show was recorded. But then there's also the maximizing the returns through the binary system. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But what you're doing is, the best time to get in Bitcoin was a year ago, and that's but the second best time is today. And people say, oh, it's high, it's high. Well, you know what? You haven't seen anything yet where this is going. I try to explain to some people that if just a small fraction of the world's economy moves into Bitcoin, it would make the value of every Bitcoin, because it's a limited number, worth up to $100 million per coin, which blows people's minds. But it's actually a fact, because if you move the world's fiat currencies into the people's currencies, what I refer to as Bitcoin, because it's not regulated by any central bank and it belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to any government. So it's definitely a benefit to get into Bitcoin. It's the best, highest, fastest rising asset class that I know of. It's outperforming any stock or any investment, any real estate, anything whatsoever. And it has a limited quantity. There's only going to be ever 20 million ever. So it can only, as more of the world's economies move into it, just like Japan just did recently in the last 30 days, they've actually made it an official medium of exchange. And so there's probably untold thousands of customers, businesses equipping themselves with wallets and be able to pay systems. So that demand is what's driving up the price of Bitcoin, because you have more and more people after a limited quantity of Bitcoin available. So that's the law of supply and demand, and it's just a given. It's only going to go up. And of course, there's going to be dips and rises on the way up, because people that are large holders, they want to cash out. If you have $100 million worth of Bitcoin, yeah, you're gonna crash the market a little bit, because you're going to sell it all of a sudden, take your profits at $1,754 down to $1,700, and then other people are going to try and cash out too and drive it down to maybe $1,650, $1,675. And guess what they're going to do with that 115 million they have now? They're going to go back in and buy up all the coin at $1,675 that they sold.
That's something I noticed, that because if people are like, well, it's just going to crash and whatever, and I haven't been into this very long, and I don't know a lot about it. I've just been, listening to guys like you and a few others and watching some videos online. And one of them showed the trend of Bitcoin over the years. And from what I saw, it looked like every time it would reach a peak, it would dip, and it would have a pretty, decent drop. But whenever it came down to a drop, it always returned at a higher level than it was before it dropped. And it consistently did that. So even if it drops, for the reason you just described, it'll shoot back up to, if it's at 17 now, it may shoot up to, 2,000. I heard some projections saying it could go between 3,000 and 5,000 just this year, 2017.
Yep, absolutely. And conservatively up to $10,000 by the end of the decade, if not quicker. As more and more people lose faith in their fiat currencies, and as it continues to devalue, and it's more regulated and controlled, more people are moving into this. The beauty, talking about Bitcoin, the beauty of it, you can send money to anybody in the world in a matter of no time at all with minimal expenses. Like I have a son that lives in Guatemala, and I just got him set up with Bitcoin. And I can send him Bitcoin. Like we can do a transaction in minutes, and it's done, and he can be sent any amount of money. I think the largest transaction I heard of that was sent by Bitcoin in one transaction was $100 million.
Wow.
Can you imagine the wire transfer fees on that one? Oh
yeah, I know. I know, it is crazy. I mean, just the few interactions that I've had with it, it's anywhere from seconds to minutes, and it's in your wallet. At Capital One, what's in your wallet? Well, Bitcoin can be in your wallet in seconds. And as we talked about in the other interview, you can get these Visa cards that you can put your Bitcoin on, so it's like a prepaid Visa card, and then you can use your Visa card anywhere you normally use it. Yeah.
And you can go to an ATM and get cash, local currency cash out of it anywhere in the world.
Right. That's just it's amazing to me. So once again, for those that enjoy what I'm doing and want to support what I'm doing, if you want to get behind what I'm doing by using Bitcoin or by using Bitcoin through Gladiacoin to this structure, obviously getting Bitcoin and sending Bitcoin, it's just increasing in value. So that alone, it's just like buying gold and giving somebody a gold coin and saying, hey, you know what, the value may go up, whatever, and that goes up and down too. It's the same thing, at least as far as I could tell. But Gladiacoin, from what I understand, allows you to do something over and above that, and that's to basically use this system to continue to accumulate more funds for you through the various investment structures or whatever that it uses. And again, I just want to clarify upfront to everybody, neither one of us are licensed to give you investment advice. Nobody on this broadcast has been licensed to give you investment advice. This is just a couple of guys shooting the breeze for you guys to listen to. So, and like my dad said, never invest more than you're willing to lose. We're just telling you some information that we're learning. We're just passing information along to you. Again, we're not licensed, so there's our disclaimer. But so if people are interested, they could go to robschannel.com/Bitcoin, and there you'll see some videos and things like that, and there will be a email link to Jerry. And Jerry, you can, what are you going to do when people contact you?
Okay, well, the first thing that people need to do, because everything is done in Bitcoin, and when you make your increase, I just wanted to say that in Gladiacoin, everything is done in the currency of Bitcoin. It's like getting on a ship out in the middle of the ocean, and it's completely apart from all the world's currencies. And when you get on the boat, you have to convert the currency of your country into Bitcoin, because it's the only one that's recognized on this boat. And when you get on there, every transaction, everything you do is all exchanged in Bitcoin. And when you get off the boat, depending on which country you're going back to, that's when you convert it back to the currency of your choice. So while you're on the boat, the fluctuations do not affect you whatsoever on the up and down of Bitcoin. It has absolutely no bearing on it. It doesn't matter what it's doing. You'll only realize a profit or a loss based on your starting position after you exchange it back to a currency. That's the only way it'll ever see it. And the beauty about the Gladiacoin program is because it helps you acquire more Bitcoin without you having to put more fiat currency into the program. Mm-hmm. The only time you would put more fiat currency into the program is either by purchasing more Bitcoin into your wallet so that you could buy a higher level of investment so that it has better returns. That's the only time. But there's a maximum there, like it's up to it's called a Spartacus 7, and it's a 4 Bitcoin position. And once that is there, it'll double 4 Bitcoins and turn them into 8 in 90 days. Mm-hmm. Plus it'll or quicker. It depends on the. That's where it's so good to get everybody qualified in the downline, because as they're qualified quicker, they're going to be receiving volumes flowing through them. That means that their position is going to double in less than 90 days. 90 days is what's going to happen if you do nothing and you do not participate in any of the binary, you don't bother getting qualified, you're going to get your 90-day double. But if you can participate in the volume, you're going to get payments, and that's going to contribute to the amount you're earning, because they're just going to pay you until you double your money. And that might be in 90 days, 80 days, 70 days, 60 days. There are some people that are earning their Bitcoin every day. That's how fast it's going. The ones, like that's how crazy it is. And the thing about the volatility of Bitcoin, it's actually excellent for this program, because that is what the traders are basing their profits on, is the arbitrage of the buying and selling of the Bitcoins from different exchanges all over the world by spot market prices. And if somebody's selling it here, like the price change hasn't been reflected instantaneously across the world, they are able to buy it at this price and sell it at this one, because they're capturing that market. And that's where they're making a lot more than they're paying us. And that's why they can continue to. And they want to have so much of a collection of Bitcoin that they can work with, like a huge hedge fund manager, that they can become market movers and create movements in the Bitcoin into different countries and get it more assimilated and more accepted in different places. And that's just to benefit everybody. So I will help educate people. I will probably compile a really good list of informative, simple videos that people can watch depending on their level of knowledge. And then there's other programs that, for those who are so inclined, that I'm doing, and the reason for them is that I use them to fund and upgrade my positions in Gladiacoin. So rather than, again, coming out of pocket, well, do you have another program that can generate some Bitcoin so that I can upgrade my positions? Like I might start with a lower one, but I want to upgrade to start at Spartacus 1, 2, 3, 4, and say, well, I want to move it up. That's what I've already done. I have another program that is actually funding my upgrades in Gladiacoin. So I'm not out of pocket. Like once you get this machine started, it's like a goose, and it's laying golden eggs. And it's actually working.
So since I've already got my 2 legs established.
Right, you're qualified, yeah.
And you and Gus are pretty much managing, what's going on here. You guys can, if somebody else wants to come in, they'll contact you. You guys have the access to the account that's funding or helping my ministry. You guys can then strategically place people so that the legs stay balanced, right?
Right.
Because as I understand it, Gladiacoin only pays out on the weaker of the 2 legs.
Lower volume, yes.
So, if this one's like really full and this one's, not, this is the only one that's funneling money to my ministry. Whereas if you can kind of keep them both balanced, then technically there's not really a weaker leg, at least not by a major spread. This may be like, 0.2 weaker or something like that than this one. But, I'm still getting paid pretty close.
They may alter. Like, just depends on how things. But when it's managed like this, we can keep it controlled. And then, but you did mention, I'll just correct, that you're saying, well, this side here, that the strong leg, it's not benefiting your ministry. Yes, it would, because there are people in there that are earning, like people that want to support you. They may, you may not be getting paid your bonus on that side for that day or that week or whatever it is, because it's the strong leg. But everybody in that leg obviously also has their weak and strong leg within that leg. You see? So they're getting paid within it. So they're generating more money, and the more money that they're generating, then the more able they are to gift you some Bitcoin. That's another thing. They can donate everything they want to you in Bitcoin. You just have to have a QR code on your website, and they can just scan their phone right up to the screen, and they can send you Bitcoin just by scanning your screen, and they'll say how much you want to send, and they can just type in, a half a Bitcoin, 10% of a Bitcoin, 5%, like whatever. And it's just boom, it'll just go right into your wallet. That's how easy it is to donate to you.
That's the other thing I realized about, like I use blockchain.info to create my wallet.
Right.
Is that it will do what it does to create a secure code that would be a donation code, basically.
Right. Yep.
So I could put that code on. In fact, I will. I'll generate one specifically for donations, and put it on the robschannel.com/Bitcoin page. And so people that are in a line and they're generating funds or whatever, they can just go ahead and send a contribution of Bitcoin to that wallet ID.
Yeah, you could have one for your seed industry. You'd say, you know what, those who want to support seed, this is it here. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's an awesome idea.
And then if you have travel expenses, you want to go speaking, hey, can you want to donate to me? Like I'm going to speaking, like that's what it's for. And then you can say it's funded, you know, boom, it's done.
Wow, that is amazing. All right, I think let me make sure I'm just kind of timing this here. Yeah, I think that's about all the time we have. So any last things you want to share with our listeners that they need to know, or just?
Well, I said this, I've been encouraging people to get involved in Bitcoin since early this year. And, you know, but who am I? I'm nobody, but I tried to tell people this because it was down below, you know, around $1,000 a Bitcoin, or even, I don't know what it was exactly, but last year it was, in the fall, it was like 700, and like, look what it's at now. You know, and well, it's not going to continue to go up in price. I mean, okay, I don't know. This is something you either have to feel in your heart that you want to do it, and boy, you know what they say, you haven't got nothing to lose. Well, you do have a lot to lose here. You have a lot to lose on this ride to the top, because I'll tell you this, I love it. This is the currency of the people. If you really understand how the power of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, how it puts power back into the hands of the people, and how it's so accessible to everybody to have our own economy apart from central banking and control systems. We're all equal here. Like these elite that rule over us, well, they're only doing it by our consent. And this is a way to take back some of our power, and our power to be able to exchange value peer to peer, apart from other interference, to me is very, very important. And if people don't support it, well, it's not going to thrive. But it is, it's really catching on, and people are going to embrace this like crazy. So join the ride, help. It's got so many benefits. I know, like a lot of people, it might be a little bit overwhelming, but it isn't. When you get into it a bit, it's just like anything. You'll start gelling, and you'll just go, wow. Just like the few little ideas I shared with you about how to fund things. Just like, it's so simple. You can set up 3 campaigns in what, like 10 minutes on your website, and you're done. Like it's.
That is truly amazing. Wow. So, hey, Jared, thanks again so much for coming on to the Revolutionary Radio Project. I really appreciate your input and look forward to seeing where this goes, man.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, and I'm glad we finally got to talk, and I'm looking forward to a lot more few updates, you know, in the future, and just giving a report back. It's going to be exciting, and I think people need some good news for a change, something they can get behind and believe in and have fun with, and the momentum's there. Just come on board. I'm willing to help. This is what I love to do, and I just love to help everybody understand. I really like people to understand, because if you understand this, you will get involved. The only people who don't is they don't understand this. So that's it.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, once again, go to robschannel.com/Bitcoin. You can find out more information there. And thank you guys so much for listening to the Revolutionary Radio Project this evening. And we'll see you back next week, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Good night, everybody. Okay, so that concludes both pre-recorded shows on Bitcoin and Gladiacoin in particular. Now, of course, while that show was being aired on Facebook, there's a whole lot of people saying it's a scam, it's a pyramid, it's a Ponzi, it's a whatever. Look, I'm new to all this. I don't really understand all of this. As I said in this broadcast, I'm looking to these guys. These are people that I trust. They are people both in my upline as well as my downline. Who have said, hey, we just want to help you. We just want to support you. In fact, they started my account for me. They put money in it. And, you know, so I've got no skin in the game, really. I haven't put much of anything into it myself. They've put money into it. In my upline, they've put money in for themselves. And my friend Gus, who's in my upline under Jim Ram, opened up my account. So he put money in to start my account. And Jerry is in my downline. And there's another guy also in my downline that was on Facebook interacting as well. All of these people are making money. All right. And I am too. Just the short amount of time that I've been on already, seeing the initial, they brought me in at Spartacus level 1. I'm now at Spartacus level 5. I recently upgraded from 4 to 5 by putting, so I do have a little bit of skin in it, just because when I saw what was happening at level 4, I thought, well, I want to get into level 5. So I did put a little bit in from the proceeds that I had received while I was in levels 2 through 4, I guess, went ahead and upgraded. So all I know is I'm seeing returns. The people in my upline are seeing returns. The people in my downline are seeing returns. And this is what really got me. I'm going to do a screen share for you. Okay, now check this out. As of right now, it's 3:14 a.m. on May 11th. My show aired from 11 p.m. on the 10th to 1 a.m. on the 11th. So my show literally just ended about 2 hours ago on the radio. And I'm just finalizing this video right now that you're watching. And I had, before my show went live at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, I had created this website earlier in the afternoon on the 10th, as of today, May 10th. And this is the value. If you go to Coinbase.com, they have a chart that shows the current value of the Bitcoin, or whatever other cryptocurrency you may be looking at. So at that time, it was earlier in the day, probably 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon on May 10th. The value was 1780. Okay, now check this out. This is live right now on Coinbase. I just went there to check it because I had saw something when I was finalizing this edit, and you heard Jim Ram saying that it was $1,300. That was the value. That pre-recorded interview that I did with Jim Ram was on April 27th. Okay, so just a couple of weeks ago, April 27th, we did the interview. It was about $1,300 at that time. Here it is, 3 a.m. on May 11th, and it's at 1885, which is up from just yesterday afternoon when it was 1780. So it's gone up $100 in one day. Now, many are saying that, well, that's interesting, but it's probably going to crash. And it may do that. It may plummet. But if you go and look at the history of this thing and just look at over the overall, you'll see that it has many ups and downs, up and downs. But whenever it bounces back from a down, it bounces back high, and in many cases higher than it was before it went down. And if you just look at various people, high profile multimillionaires, billionaires that are looking at this thing, they are the ones saying that this is projected to get as high as maybe $3,000 to $5,000 in value this year. And I've watched it just from the moment I was introduced to it. It was just under 1,200, I believe, and that was like maybe a month ago. So, I've only been aware of this. I mean, I've known about Bitcoin for quite some time, but I've only been aware of resources like Gladiacoin.com and Bitcoin Funding Team, which we didn't cover in this broadcast. I'd probably do it in another broadcast. But these are various organizations that have been put together to help people make more money with Bitcoin. So I've only, like I said, I'm brand new to this. I don't know a whole lot. I'm trying to listen to other people that I trust to tell me, what the deal is. But just with what little I have gleaned so far, and just looking at the stats right here, I'm going, well, this is like a no-brainer to me. I mean, it just went up $100 in value in one day, and in like 2 weeks, it went from about 1,300 to here it is. What is it today? 1885. Yeah. So, look, as with everything, pray about it, look into it. I always say, don't believe a thing I say, do your own research. I'll say that to you again right here. Do your own research on it. It seems like a good deal to me, even if you don't want to get involved with something like Gladiacoin. It seems to me, just get some of this stuff. I mean, you can get it at pretty much any amount, it seems like. If you can't afford one full Bitcoin at 1885, then get a half a Bitcoin, or 25% of a Bitcoin, or a tenth. If you've got $185 or $188, get a tenth of it. Because it's obviously increasing. I mean, it's surpassed gold. Let me see what gold is right now. I got an app on my phone here, so I'll just go ahead and look it up. Right now, as of this moment, at 3:18 a.m. on May 11th, gold is at $1221.50. $1221.50. That's the bid. The ask is $1222.50. Okay, Bitcoin's at 1885 and climbing. Maybe it might be worth it to wait, because you know, from what I've been hearing, there's an inevitable dip that's coming, and you know, people who got in when it was low will cash out. You know, but then it's going to climb back up again. So, you know, it's a gamble. And again, I'm not licensed or in any way qualified to give you advice, so you're just gonna have to see what you feel led to do. I just hope that this information has been valuable to you, and hopefully you can benefit from it. If for no other reason, just to get the Bitcoin for yourself and let it increase, or if you feel so led to get behind the efforts that I'm trying to do with ministry and seed and things like that, support my work. You can throw a little bit my way if you feel so inclined, or you can get involved in my structure in Gladiacoin and get into my downline. And again, I would refer you to my website, robschannel.com/Bitcoin. Watch a bunch of videos here if you want to get a little bit more educated on all this. And the video that I'm doing right now is going to end up right here. So by the time you see it, it will be here. And there's Sergeant Jim Ram's website. He's in my upline. He's my friend Gus, who's the one that introduced me to all this. He is in Jim's downline. Gus is in my upline. And Jerry Zimmerman, who you heard on the broadcast, he's in my downline. Here's his information right here, so you can contact him. So you've got support both from my upline as well as my downline to help you, and that's just cool to me that I've got this many people already surrounding me above and below that are trying to lift up and support what I'm doing. And the cool thing about all of this is everybody's helping everybody else. You know, the people down below are helping the people up above. The people up above are helping the people down below, and everybody's in it for the success of everybody else. So if you decide to get involved with this and you benefit from it, and you're in my downline, well, I'm also going to benefit from it. So it seems like a win-win to me all the way around. But again, do your own research, look into it. You know, you're going to find plenty of pros and cons. So I would recommend you weigh both. Look at the cons. Look at all the people that are saying this is a scam. Then look at all the people that are saying, no, it isn't. It doesn't fit any definition of a Ponzi scheme or anything like that. It's a legitimate deal, and people are making money of it. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video presentation. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and share it on your favorite social media sites. There's a lot more to come, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back next time.